Warning. The following podcast contains explicit language, honest opinions and a sense of humor. Welcome to the Brothers Take.
Hello everyone and welcome back to our podcast. I'm Chris, joined by my brothers Adam.
Hello.
And Eric.
Hello.
We're back in the room to talk more about video games, and joining us in the room today is fellow friend and gamer Mr. Nathan Booth. Nathan, how are you?
Hello, thanks for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure. Real honor to be here sitting with you guys.
Oh, thank you very
Not
much.
physically, unfortunately, but
You're the only one that's ever been honored to be. Everyone else is like,
trying to get in there now.
yeah. Okay, we have a new series regular. Nathan, what do you do, by the way? Tell us what you do.
It's like
I'm
one of those game shows or something. What do you do? How do you like to relax?
Yeah.
What do you do with the money?
It's actually
Long walks on the beach, a good book. I'm a freelance videographer at the minute, so I was doing a lot of corporate stuff up until the pandemic kind of put everything on hiatus across the entire globe. But just kind of little pieces for advertising and promoting events, do a bit of camera, a bit of sound, bit of editing. So a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none, but gets me by. Excellent.
So Nathan, you do realize now that you're going to be asked to edit this episode after I was joking. So the topic we're going to be discussing today is it actually came about from our social media. We'd put out a comment on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to ask people if there's anything that they would like us to cover in the future. Because we would like to, even though there's lots of stuff we want to talk about, we'd also like to get around to topics that people who are listening to us are interested in, so that we know we're not boring our audience and we are also catering to what they want to hear. And two separate comments came in, one on Instagram, one on Twitter, from different people, both asking about Kingdom Hearts, which is a series that we're all familiar with.
Those are games, right?
Those are some of us, I think, are more familiar with them than others. But it's a series that, because we got the two, I was like, I can't ignore this. Like, they're not even people who got in contact with each other first before, they're both totally different people who asked for Kingdom Hearts. I was like, we can't ignore this. So I was talking to the guys. We're like, do we know anyone who knows a lot about Kingdom Hearts who could maybe jump on with us and talk us through it? Because we don't know that much about it. And lo and behold, Nathan has come to our rescue to do kind of a lore run and to fill us in on what Kingdom Hearts is all about. So this is basically Kingdom Hearts getting explained to people who've never played Kingdom Hearts.
It's a lot of pressure, but okay. Yeah, Eric, he reached out, and I'm honored that he thought of me when he thought of Kingdom Hearts. I am a fan of the series. I haven't played all the games, unfortunately, because there's like 100. But
so
where do you want me to start? What are your questions? Actually, there are 11 games on multiple platforms. So there's some mobile games, there's some handheld. There was like some on the Game Boy Advance. There was some on the 3DS, I think. But there's three mainline ones that went on the PlayStation 2 and the newer consoles, PS4 and Xbox.
This is why, when you hear Kingdom Hearts 3 is the newest one, but it's not the third game, this is where shit gets confusing, you know what I mean? But okay, 100%. So before we get into the main discussion, then we'll bring in the intro. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, by the way, you could jump into the comments at any point if you're Kingdom Hearts fans, or if you have Kingdom Hearts questions of your own, and maybe in the aftermath we can come back to some of those. So be sure to comment as we go along, and if you enjoy this at any point, you can hit the thumbs up and hit subscribe to the series so that you don't miss any other episodes. And if you're listening to us on audio platforms, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you like to listen to us, you can touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take. But without further ado, let's talk Kingdom Hearts. I tell you what, I'm going to go in tiers because I have a feeling that some of us know more than others, right? And I'm going to work up to you, Nathan. Adam.
Okay.
You're assuming I own the least anyway.
I'm definitely assuming you know the least. I think the comics are games, right? Adam, how much do you know of Kingdom Hearts?
I know that Kingdom Hearts is a Square Enix game in collaboration with Disney.
Yeah.
So that there's a lot of crossover between their characters in the game series. I feel like that was probably originally the selling point, was being able to see the likes of Daffy Duck. Is it Daffy Duck?
Donald.
One. Donald Duck. That's a different
Oh boy.
video. Off to a good start. With
Who's that?
with Final Fantasy characters, as well as I suppose they have new characters in it. I know the main dude has a key, which is like a sword of some sort. Is it an axe kind of a thing? And he's got big feet. He's got massive feet.
He's got huge feet. Yeah, he does.
That's a very good point. Yeah, that's a very important story going along.
Yeah, but that's
Really?
probably as much as I know. Apart from, like, there seems to be a lot more Final Fantasy characters introduced as the series goes on. It seems like the newest one I think had a bunch. But that would be it. That would be all I know
Okay.
of Kingdom Hearts.
Eric, how much do you know about Kingdom Hearts?
Right. So there's Sora, the main character with the big feet and the brown hair.
Yeah.
He used the Keyblade because it's important to getting rid of the Heartless. Were the villains in the first one.
Very good,
And
Eric.
then there's some other villains that come along that are worse than the Heartless or something like that. And yeah, there's obviously the Disney and the Final Fantasy, which would have helped bring in kids and yada yada yada. They're not important though. Then you have that's kind of like I noticed there's multiple worlds. There's lots of worlds because each Disney character is actually in their own world, so they kind of have like a multiverse sort of thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets confusing. That's about it. I only ever really played a bit of the first one.
Okay.
And then I know that there's some white-haired villain, I think, in the second one or something like that.
Yeah.
And is Bugs Bunny in this one? No, that's a different universe again, right?
Will you stop? That's the
When do the Animaniacs come into it?
That's the Mass Effect crossover series. That's the
Yeah. They should absolutely team up with Warner Brothers to get them in there.
fuck yeah, man. Here's how much I know about it. I've actually played a little bit of the first Kingdom Hearts, and at a friend's house, I played a small section of Kingdom Hearts 2. But by no means do I know much about the series as a whole. So yes, I know Sora. I know about the Keyblade. It's a Disney Final Fantasy crossover by Square Enix. The Heartless seem to be the kind of main enemies of the first game, but I believe there's something called Organisation XIII that come into the second game. Am I correct saying that? And there's some dude with lightsabers. Way more of a Disney kind of look to the first game, and then it gets way more Final Fantasy looking in the second game in terms of character designs and stuff. There was some character called Roxas. Is that his name? In the second game?
That's his name. Very well done.
Very,
Yeah,
very long tutorial.
yeah
Before
pretty
you
much.
could
Yeah.
actually play as Sora. There was like a weak gameplay tutorial. I know that these are very long games. And as far as I got in the first one was I got to the Aladdin world. And I don't know if that's far or not. I have no idea because I never got further than that. The only bit I actually played of the second game was I played a little bit of that Roxas scenario. And also we had a go at, because my friend had actually cleared it. Some of my friends are really into the series. And one of them had us try fighting Sephiroth. In the open world, it's like an optional fight.
Yeah.
And just so that we could all get our ass whooped. And I was kind of happy at that moment because I was like, yeah, great, okay, cool. Because I've been telling these guys about Sephiroth for years. And they were kind of like, what are you talking about? It's so stupid. You have to wait for your attack and all. I was like, no, guys, it's cool. So when they got to Kingdom Hearts and he whooped their ass, they were like, wow, Sephiroth's a badass. I was like, yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
Vindication for all those years.
Yeah. So I was happy with that. That's about as much as I know about King. Oh, and you have to like close doors, portals, and shit, right? That's what the Keyblade's for, which is
Pretty
what's
much,
letting
yeah.
you into all these worlds. Is that right? Okay, so that's our base knowledge of
Get the basics of it.
of Kingdom Hearts. So I don't even know, like, do you even know where to start in terms of filling us in?
Well, there's a lot of varying levels of knowledge here. Some of you kind of got a better grip of than the others, but you've got the basics of it. Like you got the core of it. I think where I'll start is kind of what drew me to the series and what I kind of started my love of it. It kind of hit me at I think it came out like 2002-ish, 2001, 2002. So I was like 11 or 12. I had like kind of grown up on like Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VI, kind of the earlier Final Fantasies. I wasn't quite adept at those. Like I always enjoyed playing them, but I was never very good at them. And I was kind of on the cusp of that like child into adolescent stage. So like when Kingdom Hearts came out, it was like Disney and Square Enix. It's like this was everything I wanted in one game. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. It's got Mickey Mouse and it's got Donald Duck and then it's got Cloud. So that was pretty sweet. And it was kind of like it really appealed to me on that level. And the first game I think personally is probably the best because after that it gets incredibly confusing. They start adding a lot of kind of different elements and different characters and storylines, and you could spend so much time delving into the lore of this game, but I don't think we'll have time for that in this episode. Maybe if you want to do a follow-up.
Are you saying an hour is not enough time?
Maybe to scratch the surface.
Let's scratch that surface like it was a back that needs scratching. Put that on a t-shirt.
So, that is good. I like that. So the first game, you've got the grasp of it. You know Sora. He's the main character. He's our protagonist. We follow him through all the games most of the time, 90% of the time. But yeah, he's on an island with Riku and Kairi, his two friends. They live on Destiny Island, which is 3 kids living on an island is normal for some reason. It doesn't seem like anything's out of place there.
Isn't the island a world on its own?
It is, yeah.
That is not Riku from Final Fantasy X either. It's a different.
Oh, it's Riku with 1K.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. he's a badass.
In comparison, the clothing level in comparison to the Riku that we know, what would be the difference there?
Well, this Riku is a dude, so he's.
Yeah, this is a guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a badass guy with kind of a shoulder-length white hair. He's like when you start the game, you're kind of like, why can't I play as him? Why do I have to be this goofy motherfucker over here?
Well, Square
yeah, that's classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, classic Square.
And as the game goes on, you're kind of ripped out of your comfort zone of the islands and thrown into this other multiverse by a darkness. You're kind of sucked through a door as darkness attacks your island, and you lose your 2 friends. And then the first game starts by you want to go and find them again. You wake up in a place called Traverse Town, which is the first world you find in the first game. And you meet Donald Duck and Goofy, the other 2 members of your party that are pretty much mainstays for all the games. You find out they're looking for Mickey Mouse, who is their king. He has mysteriously disappeared at pretty much the same time that your friends did. So you join forces and decide you can go and find them together. The game kind of progresses then, as you said, you visit other worlds. They're all Disney-inspired worlds, and you have to close all the doors, these giant doors that are letting Heartless into each world, which are the main villains in the first game. They're like little shadow creatures. They're pretty harmless looking, but they usually come in great numbers, so they kind of fuck you up. And you defeat these by using your Keyblade, which is just a giant key that you smash things with.
I think it's cool. I like the Keyblade.
It is. It is very cool.
Yeah.
It gets cooler as the games go on. You get to like in one of them you get to dual wield, and there's like from each world you get different themed keyblades. So you'll have like an Aladdin themed one or like a Mulan themed one, and they all kind of have different effects and stuff. But yeah, as the first game goes on, then you kind of you want to find your friends. You find out that Riku has kind of turned evil. He was put into a different part of the world, and the kind of baddie, so when you're starting off, is Maleficent, the queen from Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
So she's orchestrating all the Heartless attacks, and her goal is to open the door to Kingdom Hearts. So Kingdom Hearts, here's the first kind of slightly confusing part of the game, is
this is the first.
So far so good. So far so good.
Yeah. Okay.
Kingdom Hearts is it's kind of like heaven. It's kind of like the place where all hearts go when they leave your body. It's kind of the all-consuming light for the world, basically. So she wants to open this door because they think they can wield the power that Kingdom Hearts possesses. So she's doing this by kidnapping all the princesses in the world, which are all Disney princesses, obviously, as well, because Disney's a massive part of the game. So you've got your or I don't even know their names, actually. Aurora.
Cinderella and the likes, yeah.
Cinderella, exactly. That's the ones. Yeah. So she's kidnapping those, and because each part of their heart unlocks another part of the door. So once she has all the princesses, she can lock the door open, and she can harness that power, and she become one of the most powerful beings in the world. So that's the main drive of the first game. You have to go and lock all the doors and save the princesses from Maleficent. You find out that she is not the ultimate baddie. Near kind of the 2/3 or 3 through the game.
Classic.
There's a puppet master who has been pulling her strings, and this is
Is it Pinocchio? Please tell me it's Pinocchio. It'd be classic with Pinocchio.
Unfortunately, it's not Pinocchio. His name is Ansem, and I think one of you alluded to him. He's kind of like long whitish hair, like Sephiroth inspired kind of looking dude.
Yeah.
Open shirt, muscular, those kind of like.
If I remember, he's quite Advent Children looking. If you've ever seen that film, I think, isn't he? He's got that kind of a vibe to him. Yeah.
Almost like a Sephiroth clone, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I think I've seen him. I'm just looking up as you're kind of talking through them. I'm just kind of looking up just to get an image of them. Is he in the third one, like the latest one? Or is it just like lookalikes of him?
Will you stick with the first one, Adam? Where
have you got? Question. It's a complicated question.
Okay.
Basically,
keep going. Keep going.
I'll touch on that because it will help throughout the explanations. You first meet him as Ansem, and he's a Heartless. He's a sentient Heartless. He's not like the little shadow monsters you've been fighting so far. He's like a person. He's got thoughts, and he's conscious, and he can plan and scheme. And he's controlling all the Heartless, and he was manipulating Maleficent because he wanted Kingdom Hearts. Riku was being puppeted by him as well. Once you defeat Riku, he's back on side, and you find out about Ansem and what's going on, basically. At the end of the first game, you close the door to Kingdom Hearts, but the only way to do it was Riku and King Mickey had to stay on the other side to make sure they closed properly and that no darkness got through. So that's how the first game finishes. You get Kairi back, you found Riku, he comes back to the good side, but you lose him and King Mickey on the other side of the door to darkness. So that sets up Kingdom Hearts 2 then.
Right.
Okay. Anthem, then he's defeated in the first game, but as you said, he comes back in the second game. He's part of Organisation XIII.
And they're not the Heartless then?
No. The second game, the enemies are Nobodies, they're called. So basically, a Heartless is created when a person loses their heart and a part of that darkness is released because everyone kind of has light and dark in them. The darkness is released and becomes a heartless creature.
Okay.
The other side of that is when a person loses their heart, what's left behind, the physical kind of body, if you would, becomes a nobody. It's a creature without a heart.
Okay.
But it's not Heartless.
No. This is where you kind of it starts to get a little convoluted. And you can kind of think, it's like, what were they thinking? Like this, they've got a Heartless already, but now you've got a nobody. But what makes him different? He has no heart. It's like, what?
Right. Okay. Can I ask as well, just before we go further, did Tetsuya Nomura work on all of these games or just some of them?
All of them.
All of them. Okay.
Part of the first, I don't know. Like, I think character development and story creation, he was big on the first, and I know he kind of came back in the third. I'm not sure about the second one. I think he had an executive producer kind of role, so they consulted him. Yeah. But he definitely had a hand in all of them.
Yeah. No, because that makes a lot of sense.
He gets these notions. I don't know where he gets them from, but
no, he loves them. He loves like massive convoluted, like What do you think's going on?
But I feel like just so far from getting this little kind of taster, because there's some obviously similarities to other work within Square Enix, that the ideas are very similar, but the naming, I think that's what's probably tripping up in Kingdom Hearts. Like you just mentioned there, Chris, about like you've got the Heartless, but then the Nobodies. Then it sounds like they're kind of similar. But I think on the big idea side of things, there is a clear distinction between them. But how do you word that in a way that's friendly to kids?
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what's tripping them up, is that, like, as well as he's a Japanese writer, like the translation is probably not accurate either. This probably makes way more sense in Japanese.
Maybe. I don't know. But we definitely won't know. I mean, if we had someone coming on trying to explain this in Japanese to us,
carry on.
Very fucking confused. Okay, so we're on the second one. We're on Nobodies.
Yeah.
Is there somebodies?
No, somebodies are just people, I guess.
What about anybody?
But no, there's no distinction.
That's grand. I'm just trying to clear up. I'm just trying to, so it doesn't get too confusing for me. Okay, I'm with you now. I'm with you.
Okay, good. So now that we've kind of touched on Nobodies, the second game starts, as you said, with Roxas. You start as a new character. You don't start the game as Sora, who you've played the first one completely through as. So you're kind of confused. You're like, what's going on here? It is a very kind of long-winded tutorial. Basically kind of shows you the new mechanics of the new game, introduces you a little bit to Roxas. But what happens then is he just disappears altogether, because you find out that Roxas was connected to Sora. He's a part of Sora. So there was games in between 1 and 2, and if you didn't play those games, you were a little bit behind the curve, which I was. So I was kind of like, what is happening here? So you find Sora, it was in a stasis kind of condition, in being held kind of to protect himself. So Roxas was his nobody. So Roxas.
Okay, hold on. Okay. Yeah. So if Roxas is basically
Sora's nobody.
Sora.
Yeah.
When Sora is missing, Sora. When Sora's missing his heart.
Yes.
Is that the like really shaded version of Sora? Is that is like?
No, that's another character altogether.
Okay. Yeah. Oh fuck! How far did we get into this before now?
We got loads to go.
It's even to get it right, like in my head in a straight line is slightly difficult, and then trying to explain it and being like, wait, he's who? Yeah. But yeah, Roxas is he's a blonde-haired kid. He doesn't resemble that much of Sora at all. So when you kind of find out like Sora has been put in a stasis, and Roxas that you've been playing as is a part of Sora, Roxas has to give himself up to wake Sora up. So he has to kind of rejoin with Sora, and then Sora awakens out of the stasis, and you play the rest of the game, the second game, as Sora. Then after that point,
it kind of looks like a Cloud ripoff.
Sorry?
Yeah, kind of a young Cloud.
Like Cloud actually.
A little bit, yeah. Do you know what? Just there's a little bit of it's kind of a shame that like, so Roxas, obviously it's quite a long tutorial so that you get kind of attached to Roxas, so that when he has to rejoin Sora and essentially disappear forever, you as a player could kind of be like, oh man, I'm kind of conflicted now because I mean I love Sora, I want him back, he's my main dude, but now I've kind of grown to like this Roxas guy, right? But I feel like that tutorial section nearly should have been one of the games in between the two. So that you just have a full game as Roxas, and the finale is him sacrificing himself, essentially, you know?
Like, I'm surprised because they have so many games in between that wanted to expand this series like exponentially, and they probably could have added another game in there. But there are games in between that kind of bridge the gaps in lore and story between the three mainline games. And I'm not going to go too much into those because I haven't played them personally. I kind of know the story basics of them and kind of how they relate. But they would be another like thing upon themselves. As I said, there are 11 games. So
are they like the equivalent of like, you know, with the Assassin's Creed series, the way they have like Brotherhood and Revelations, and if you don't play them, you haven't a fucking clue what's going on in Assassin's Creed 3? Is it kind of like that? Like,
it's kind of like that. Like, if you play the three games by themselves, the three main lines, you can piece together what's happening. It doesn't, like, you get the gist of it. But for those that want to go more in depth, you can go, like, way down the rabbit hole and find out, like, a lot of different things. Like, there's a whole, like, Keyblade Wars that came beforehand, and where Keyblades were kind of much more numerous, and there were Keyblade Knights and Keyblade Warriors, and the light sides and the dark sides fought, and that kind of that was a whole thing upon itself as well. That comes in later in the third game because the Ansem, who from the first one, and then Xemnas from the second one, were both parts of Xehanort.
I've also heard that name, but I didn't know they were all connected.
It's a little bit of a mess, but if you try and follow with me when I explain this slowly.
Okay.
So in character-wise, so we've established the creation of a Heartless is when one loses your heart, and there's two beings almost created from that. You've got the Heartless, which is the dark kind of creature, and you've got a Nobody, which is kind of the physical embodiment. So the Nobodies are distinguished by their names because most of them have an X in it. So it's usually an anagram of who the character's name was beforehand. So Roxas was Sora's. So you can get Sora and then there's an added X is how they've got Roxas.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So most of the Nobodies have X's in their name, and it's an anagram of the person they were created from. So you find out that Xemnas and Ansem, who are the two protagonists villains you play against in the first and second game, were both created from Xehanort, who is the ultimate big baddie, who you find out. Because as you play the games, it just goes from baddie to baddie to baddie. You're like, oh, I defeated him. That's the worst that it's going to be. Oh, wait, no, there's another guy. And then there's another guy. And they're all worse than the last. It's kind of like...
At some point, you're going into fighting God, then.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
It's how like all RPGs go. You always fight God at the end.
It's just like one of the Final Fantasy boss fights where they have like different forms and you have to go through each one.
Yeah.
But so Xemnas and Ansem were created from Xehanort. So they were the Nobody and the Heartless to his somebody or person anyway. So you find out anyway that Organisation XIII is something that Xehanort was trying to create. It was an organization of nobodies, and their goal in the second game is to reclaim their hearts. They want to become whole again. They want to become who they were before because they have memories kind of another life, and they have that kind of that longing and that want to be whole and be kind of the same as everyone else or equal. So they're the kind of baddies you fight through in Kingdom Hearts 2. There are 13 of them. You don't fight all 13. You only fight a select few, and then you kind of get to the boss at the end. And but that's pretty cool. That's the second one. It is much more you're getting more adult in the themes and in the kind of the atmospheres. The characters are a little bit more Final Fantasy. It's a little bit more grown up. It's kind of slightly moving away from the Disney-inspired kind of kid-friendly versions of things.
Yeah.
And I think that's evident in the story as well, because you're starting to lose the kind of younger kids, and it's kind of aiming towards the people that kind of grew up a little bit in between the games, or like new people that are coming in that are kind of like tweens and kind of young adults that kind of want this.
I always refer to that point when a series starts to go like that. That's the Goblet of Fire transition.
Right. Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it, actually.
Yeah.
So hold on. Xemnas then is he's a nobody.
Yes.
Ansem was a Heartless, and Xemnas is the leader of Organisation XIII.
Correct. Yeah.
And Ansem was not part of Organisation XIII.
No.
And are they both enemies?
Ansem you defeat at the end of the first game.
Right.
So he doesn't have any interaction really in the second game. Xemnas is the one that is the leader of Organisation 13, that you're kind of your main villain that you are trying to aspire to defeat. And then I think towards the end of that one, you realize once you've defeated Xemnas that it was Xehanort was the bad kind of the guy all along who has created these other two, the Heartless version of himself and the Nobody version of himself. And he's the real puppet master behind everyone. He's the one that laid the plans. Yeah, it's a lot of puppet masters.
But then it turns out. Yeah.
It's almost like they were like, do you know what? We have a great idea for a game. And they're like, but what if that happened? And what if he did this? What if the real guy behind it all is this guy?
Yeah.
It's almost like they're writing the story as the game is progressing, and it's kind of like it leaves some surprises, but you're more confused than anything by the end of it.
And then so in the second game, is it similar in that they're still trying to kidnap princesses to use their hearts to get to Kingdom Hearts?
Kingdom Hearts is still the goal, but their method for getting it changes. So Xemnas and the other Organisation 13 Nobodies. Their plan is to create their own Kingdom Hearts because the plan of stealing Kingdom Hearts in the first game failed. So they want to create an artificial one. So they start stealing hearts from everyone in the second game and are trying to create an artificial Kingdom Heart that will... Xemnas tells the other Nobodies it'll restore their hearts, but that's just to keep them tagged along and let them help him. Really, he just wants the power. And he wants to start another Keyblade war. He wants to start the war between light and dark that will change the universe, basically. He wants to wipe the slate clean because light has had it too good for too long.
I
get typical bad guy motivation. Yeah, pretty good.
I'm behind that. Are the Disney villains in the second one?
Maleficent does appear again. There are, like, when you go to the separate worlds, like there's mini bosses and kind of smaller ones that you kind of have to defeat, but they're not really the main bad guys. Kind of Xemnas and Organisation 13 take the reins of the bosses and the kind of bad guys in the second one. That because I think they were trying to move away from the kind of the more child-centric first game with the kind of original Disney characters as most of the bosses and characters that you meet in the worlds. They tried to make their own characters in the second one that are a little bit more grown up, a little bit more Final Fantasy inspired, a little bit darker, a little bit more sinister. And it worked. I think it is confusing, but I think the characters and the character design specifically in all of the games really is one of its strong points. I think the second one in Organisation 13, like each of those Nobodies have such kind of unique aesthetics and unique kind of weapons. They all kind of use, like, one of them has kind of long red hair and he uses like these spinning, almost like ninja star things that are like flaming.
I've seen him, I think. I've seen footage of him.
Yeah. Axel is his name. He kind of comes into it a little bit more in some of this in between games, he has a little bit more input because he has a whole storyline with Roxas and with Zayan, who are another two nobodies that were in Organisation 13. But that's another story altogether as well.
Okay.
Some of these
Let's
guys
do it.
almost look like
I
the
think you're
Turks,
getting
don't
the
they?
gist.
I'm getting the gist. I'm following it.
I'm following it. I want to. I don't know if I heard it right or not. And I'm sorry if I go backwards a bit, but Maleficent herself, is she a Heartless? Were the Disney villains Heartless?
It's never really laid out. I don't think she specifically isn't a Heartless, as far as I recall.
Okay.
She's kind of just. She's a witch villain. She can turn into a dragon. She's kind of basically the same character she was in the Sleeping Beauty. She's kind of the evil witch. Kind of is an underling to Ansem, to the big baddie, and she has control of the Heartless because he lets her have control of the Heartless. I think without him, she would have just been herself. I don't think she would have any control over the Heartless or any extra powers.
Yeah.
She just
You can
can use
imagine they
magic,
kind of like
turn into
probably
a
promised
dragon.
him something.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Here's
some sort of
I'm going to
escape.
try and. Okay, I'm envisioning it in my Lord of the Rings brain. So Maleficent is Saruman. And, Ansem is Sauron, but this Xehanort guy is Melkor. Right?
Yeah,
I'm
pretty
going to that
much.
level, but then there's another guy, Xemnas, who is sort of on the same level as Sauron, but not on the
Kind
same
of.
level as Melkor.
But
right?
so he'd be a Balrog.
He's like a bit in between. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay. All right.
I'm tier leveling it.
You got the hierarchy.
Yeah,
you
okay,
got the hierarchy of it.
Cool. Okay.
So at the end of the second game, you scupper their plans of creating the artificial Kingdom Hearts, and Riku, who is grown up at this stage, you've saved him from that kind of like dark world. He comes back to you with King Mickey, and he's even cooler than the first game.
It's like the most Irish thing ever, doesn't it? King Mickey. Sorry.
Sort of Irish bare knuckle boxer.
Yeah. Come on, put him up, Goofy. Put him up.
That would have been way better. Why didn't they do that?
Yes.
Oh, he is very hard to take serious in these games, Mickey Mouse, because he's Mickey Mouse. He's a tiny mouse, and he's in those kind of like, he's in the cool black cloak that they wear, and he's got a Keyblade, but he kind of like, you can't take him seriously, really. When he's like standing side by side along these kind of like Final Fantasy-esque villains, and he's like, I'll defeat you, and it's like, it's Mickey Mouse. What are you gonna do?
He still has the Mickey Mouse voice, right? Like he's not.
Oh yeah, he has the Mickey Mouse
Oh,
voice.
I'll fuck you up.
Exactly. Makes it all the more difficult to take him seriously.
Yeah.
But the end of the second game, then I'll kind of wrap that up. So Riku, who has come back and has been helping you, he becomes possessed by Ansem. So he kind of gains dark powers, but he fights against you again, and you defeat him. You save the day. All's well that ends well, basically.
Well, I thought Ansem
was not having a good time here, is he?
Who?
Riku. He gets sucked off, he gets possessed, then he has to be locked in hell, then he gets saved, then he gets possessed again. He's not having a good time.
It's the price you pay for being a badass.
You don't kill Ansem then in the first game, it turns out? No?
You do kill Ansem in the first game, but when Riku was under his sway, he kind of still has some darkness still residing in his heart from that time, because he was kind of controlled, kind of willing participant of the darkness in the first game. But then when you turn up, he kind of turns back to the light, and he decides to help you again. So in the second game, he still has some of that darkness in him from when he was under Ansem's control.
Right, okay.
So he can still kind of use some of his dark powers, etc. So he helps you anyway, and you defeat Organisation 13. So moving on to Kingdom Hearts 3 then. So Xehanort, who you meet at near the end of the second game, you find out he's the one that was creating Organization 13. He's the one that had created Ansem that you fought in the first game. And you're finally kind of made it to him. You've made it through everyone else. You find out he's the ultimate bad guy that you've been chasing all this time, that's been creating all the problems. And now he wants to, his ultimate plan is to start the Keyblade Wars again, so that he can wipe the slate clean. He wants to summon the legendary X-Blade, which is pronounced Keyblade as well, which is another confusing kind of factor because we already have Keyblades, and Sora uses one, Riku uses one, Mickey uses one. The roster of characters that have Keyblades kind of grows through the games, but now he wants to summon this legendary Keyblade. I'll call it an X-Blade for confusing kind of purposes.
Is Xehanort as well? Is he bald?
Yes, Xehanort is
with
the
a little
bald
white
one,
beard.
Yeah, he has a little
Is that him?
schmig thing. Yeah, that's him.
I've seen him before. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, he's different to the other ones because he looks older. He looks kind of wizened. He's the old kind of almost like Palpatine figure he's in the cloak and he's always kind of skulking around.
Right.
So he wants to start the Keyblade Wars and he wants to wipe the slate clean, bring light and dark back into harmony. So you're basically fighting through the third game, trying to stop him. My knowledge of the third game is probably the weakest because it was the most incredibly confusing.
Really?
Especially towards the end of it. Yes, definitely.
You know, actually, and you're not the first I've heard say that because like I've watched plenty of like even when it came out, like the initial reviews, and there's this guy, I don't know if you guys all watch PlayStation Access, but you know Rob on that, he's he usually makes all the skits and stuff, and he's a massive like Final Fantasy, anything JRPG is his thing, and he loves the Kingdom Hearts series as well. But he was saying that he found Kingdom Hearts 3 confusing, and he's played all of them. So, so I'm really interested to hear kind of Kingdom Hearts 3.
So this is the confusion then for 3 is not based on the fact that you haven't played the in between segments. It's just that 3 is just confusing, is it?
It is confusing in its own right, but there is towards the end when you've battled through different worlds, you've closed the doors to darkness, you've kind of made it to Xehanort. He summoned the legendary Keyblade, or X-Blade, if you will, and you kind of have to team up with everyone that you've had as partners so far. So all your kind of like Riku's, Kairi's, Mickey, Donald, Goofy, everyone's along for this kind of final battle to stop darkness once and for all. And this random dude turns up, and it's like, who was this? Who is this guy that's with us? Because you kind of know all the roster of characters, and there's this new guy. So he joins the battle as well. And I kind of afterwards, I was like, what happened there? Because you're fighting him, and this guy turns up and is fighting along with you, and he's involved in kind of like dialogue with the characters, and it's as if they know him already. It's as if he kind of has
long brown hair, and does he have like guns or something, or he wears like kind of all black kind of clothes and he has like long brown hair or something?
He kind of has long brownish hair, yeah.
Yeah, because I think I've seen the actual end fight, and I think he's involved in Kingdom Hearts 3, and I was a bit like, what's going on here?
He apparently, because I googled it afterwards, because myself and Karen, my fiance, she's really into Kingdom Hearts too, so we were playing it together, and we were both kind of like, who is this guy that kind of just inserts himself? He inserts himself at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. It's like, what's happening here? Should we know him? Did we miss something? But apparently he's part of the mobile game, and a mobile game came out between 2 and 3.
Right.
And they wanted to promote the mobile game because I think it's still ongoing. You can create your own little character, like Kingdom Hearts character, and battle Heartless and battle Nobodies and whatever on the mobile. And they made a lot of money through that, I think, through microtransactions and what have you. So they wanted to bring him into the mainline series. So he's kind of a stand-in for whoever you created on your own game, because he's he represents basically your character from the mobile series.
That's
which
a
is
weird way of inserting.
Yeah,
It's
but,
so strange.
But and then so when he shows up, all the other like main characters that you've known, they just sort of just go, oh, hello. Like they're not confused that he's there, no?
No, it didn't seem to be. Like our confusion was extreme, but the other characters don't react to him in any sort of like strange way. It's just accepted. It's like, oh, he's here. Okay, let's fight Xehanort.
Okay, yeah, that would baffle me. Yeah.
Pretty baffling. But like overall, I think the series, for what they tried to achieve, it's a very entertaining series, and I still love it for all its confusingness and stupidness. But I think they could have done things so much better. Like they could have simplified it so much more.
Right.
And I think it was Tetsuya Nomura's influence that kind of like dragged it off the rails a little bit.
Right. Yeah. I've heard that a lot because I don't know if you've played Final Fantasy VII Remake. Have you?
Yeah.
You have? Okay. And we have talked about that before ourselves, but like I just remember a lot of people when they were talking about the ending, they were going, "Oh, it was a great game," and then Tetsuya Nomura threw his bullshit in. And I personally quite enjoyed the ending, and I wasn't that kind of, and I'm kind of, my mind is open to, oh, where's this going to go? And they clearly have, some sort of vision, I think, going forward, hopefully. But it was just funny that everyone was like, that was their main complaint. They were like, Tetsuya Nomura just had to fucking throw some bullshit. I don't think it's all him. It's not all him, surely, because he's not making.
It can't. No, yeah, it can't be all one person. But he does seem to draw the ire of people that don't like certain things about these games. They're like, oh, that was him. Like, I don't know how, if he through development has been credited as like these kind of story elements and stuff, but he seems to get all the fire.
It could just be just sheer coincidence that everybody's on a game. It just gets really confusing.
Well, you see, that's the thing. Like, I find personally that JRPGs in general tend to get confusing towards the end of their games. They always get a little bit convoluted, and they always add in this extra element as like, and it was actually this all along. And like, I to this day, like, I've played Final Fantasy X so many times, and I to this day cannot explain what the fuck Titus is. Right? And I've heard the explanation many times, but I still to this day am like, what? And that's not Tetsuya Nomura's doing. So I feel like, yeah, people do use them kind of as a hot topic. I think these games are just confusing regardless. Like, they always have these big, mad, wild kind of ideas of, you know, crazy shit.
Well, I think the first one was so good. I don't know if they expected it to be such a success, but like it was massive. Obviously, because Disney's involvement and Square Enix having a great name in game development already up until that point, it just kind of made like a perfect storm of, if you were interested in either thing, it would draw you in. Kind of that age for where people were kind of growing up with it. Then it kind of got a little bit darker. It got a little bit stranger. I think it was a fantastic series in that way, and I like how they kind of went with it. But I would think, or sometimes I would kind of be like, was it because it was such a success in the start, and they were like, we can make a shitload of money out of this game now, and they started kind of throwing more and more at the wall and to see what would stick.
Right. Yeah.
I hope, now that you mentioned Final Fantasy Remake, I hope that the same thing doesn't happen there, because I did like that game as well.
Yeah.
It did get a little bit batched towards the end, and it does remind me a little bit of how Kingdom Hearts was like, oh, it was great, and then it kind of went, oh yeah, it's still kind of good, but it's getting confusing. What's happening now?
Yeah, I mean, you raise a good point. It's like, yeah, like there could be a great momentum here, or they could milk the shit out of this. And you're like, yeah, I love this, but also it's only the first 5 hours of the original 30-hour game. You're like, I hope, they find a way of kind of keeping the train rolling, and not like Final Fantasy VII Remake .128 Dreams Awakening or something like that. I don't know if that sounds like a Kingdom Hearts title, but
It's probably
that is 100%. That could be a
I think it's probably less likely to see the same treatment with Final Fantasy. That the struggle with Final Fantasy is like, okay, how do we make something that's kind of new and exciting for the old players plus new players kind of thing. That's what they're, I suppose, while trying to restructure the whole thing into individual games. Whereas this time, like with Kingdom Hearts, like I think you're right. Like I mean, I remember that initial deal being done as I was signing it. No, between Disney and because Disney was really wanting to set up a game division within Disney, and they were originally just kind of like trying to partner with other companies. I think Square approached them with that some form of pitch for Kingdom Hearts. So then I imagine, and we know that Disney are fairly like, okay, cool. Let's make like a
gajillion dollars out of this.
Fucking games out of this. That would be great. So I imagine the writers are trying to figure out ways similar to Lost, where you're just trying to like leave the most open-ended shite so that you can go in any direction just to be able to make more projects with it. I imagine Disney are probably what would have been behind the series becoming not becoming confusing, but being so many games in the series. And that the confusing element is probably the writers trying to figure out, okay, how can we keep this going?
Do you know the parallel with Lost is a really good one? That's a really good point. Because what you have is like you have a group of like talented writers who are, they know their shit. They've got lots of great ideas, but they don't know how long they have to keep this going for. And they're being controlled by a studio that's like, keep this going, won't you? And they're like, okay, but to keep this going, we can't answer the questions yet because we need to save that for the end. So we're going to have to raise new questions instead. So as a result, here comes new ideas, everyone.
Yeah.
So it's a good comparison.
It's like when you were explaining the first one, like when I'm thinking about it now, I'm like, I would love to go. I've never played any of them, but I would actually want to go play the first one. It sounds like a very coherent story. It sounds like it's a lot of fun. I like the tie-ins that they have with both the Final Fantasy characters and the Disney ones, plus the new characters. It sounds like from the second one, that's where it kind of goes, all right, what? So they have the ability to be very coherent if they want to, but it does sound like they're trying to open it up.
That's what definitely leads me to believe that they kind of saw how much of a success the first one was, and the developers and the publishers or whoever, Disney, were just like, that made us a shit ton of money. Let's make lots more of those things. And they were kind of like, well, we had ideas for like a second game. They're like, no, we're making like 11, 12 games. We'll just keep them coming.
Right, yeah. On every platform too. Yeah.
This, actually, I'm going to now compare it to the Transformers films. As we're going to be comparing it to stuff.
Why?
It's just because thinking about the villains, where it's like, so you have Megatron goes to Earth to get the Allspark.
Oh yeah.
Actually he went to Earth to get the Matrix leadership. Actually, no, he went to Earth so he could get the pillars so that he could bring. Actually, no, Quintessa sent them to battle. Like they just kept adding.
In every movie, had to go. The plot was actually this all along. yeah.
Those villains.
Revisionism.
Is there new ideas? There probably is. Probably loads. Is there new ideas that are brought into the third game in a similar way to so the first game you have to come to terms with what Heartless are, in the second game they start introducing Nobodies. Do they introduce another layer of that in the third game, or is there no new kind of variation of?
There's not kind of a noteworthy new variation. There's like obviously variations of enemies and bosses, but they don't really kind of bring any more story elements or lore elements as far as I remember.
Yeah.
Into
because what I'm wondering is like, so other than that random guy who shows up and they just go, right, that's a bit weird, right? And if you have to play a mobile game, you just don't know who that is, right? So what else makes the third game so confusing? Because I have heard it a lot of times, like people, like if you follow the other ones and you're kind of there, what else makes the third one so convoluted?
Well, it as well as bringing in that like mobile tie-in, they bring in some other characters that haven't really appeared in the mainline series substantially. You kind of hear tell of them, or like what King Mickey will have been doing in, like, say, the first game or a second game while he's not with you is explained in a further game in one of the other series of games. And characters from those kind of have more of a part in 3. So if you have no knowledge of the other games at all, you're kind of throughout the game, it's kind of scattered with like, I don't really know where did they come from? What were they doing? And why are they here now? And who is that person? Should I know them? Like there's Aqua and there's Terra, who are other Keyblade warriors from before the first game. They were kind of involved in the lead up to the Keyblade Wars, etc. And then you find out that they were being trained by Xehanort, who was a Keyblade master. And he was the one that was training them before he kind of turned evil and went all Palpatine. So there's a lot of different kind of. I'm making it a verb.
Yeah. But it works. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah.
It's just kind of, it was hard for it to kind of cohesively bring everything together, which is what it was trying to do. I think it was trying to wrap everything up in a nice little bow and be like, now everything makes sense. Now everything that happened before the last 10 games, they all come together here and we're going to defeat Xehanort and everything's finished. But having not played a lot of those other games, there was a lot of kind of confusing moments in them. Like, I have the timeline of how things actually happen in front of me with all the different games. And Kingdom Hearts, the first game, is like, in the timeline, it's like 3 slots down. Like, there's a lot happens before that. You've got there's Kingdom Hearts Union X, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, and then you've got the mainline Kingdom Hearts game. But at the same time that's happening, you've got Kingdom Hearts 0.2 Birth by Sleep and Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days.
I love the way they named this shit. I love the way they named this shit. I love it.
So it's not only the games are confusing, the names are confusing.
Yeah.
The timeline
10-2 was confusing. Wait till you hear this shit. I love it.
So it goes off the wall. But like, if you play the 3 mainline games, you're going to enjoy them. They're great games.
It sounds to me like
play itself.
Just to make another movie comparison, that a lot of the confusion for the third one is if you were to watch the Avengers movies.
I was about to say, this reminds me of when we tried to sit down with Mom.
And
watch
Infinity War.
She had never seen any of the others.
That's
she's like, who's that guy?
Yeah. So, like, imagine just watching like as a what would you call 4 of them? It's not a 4-quill. I don't know.
It's a quadrilogy.
The 4 Avengers movies and none of the other MCU movies. Like, I think, you might, Avengers 2, you might be like, okay, so they brought in something along the way, but it doesn't really matter. I could kind of fall down. By Infinity War, you'd definitely be like, okay, who the fuck is that?
Yeah, because they're actually...
What is going on?
Such a huge gap between the two that it's almost like you need to almost watch Civil War and count that as a Avengers movie. Yeah. Because it more or less is, because it has the entire Avengers.
But like, imagine watching Endgame, having not seen the other ones, and when Ant-Man gets big, like during the battle, Ant-Man gets big, and Valkyrie's flying on a Pegasus, and Spider-Man, and you're just like, what the fuck? I've never seen any of the other ones. And they, in a similar way to, I suppose, what was being said about Kingdom Hearts 3, they just expect that you have. Like, they're just hoping that you have caught up. They're not going to stop and go, okay, let's just explain what this is to you right now before we move further, because they're hoping you've already caught up. And I suppose that's what it seems to be. Would that be right? So I imagine a lot of people play Kingdom Hearts 3 after playing the first 2, but maybe did miss a lot of the side stuff, and as a result, we're kind of left like, wait, what? Who's that? And what's this? And what's going on there?
Yeah, the Avengers analogy is very apt. I think it fits it very, very well, because, as you say, you can kind of watch them and understand the main gist of what's happening, what they were trying to achieve, but the nuances of kind of like, why are they there? Why are they helping? Who is that guy? And those kind of things long because you've kind of missed the gaps in between. So yeah, I think that's a great analogy, and it works. It works very well for Kingdom Hearts, especially the third one. I think if you play 1 and 2, you can get along fine. But when it comes to 3, they're kind of like, well, if you haven't caught up by now with all the other games, you're going to be fucking lost. Go and fucking catch up with the other games.
It's classic Disney, really. You know, when you think about it, the MCU and Kingdom Hearts.
It probably
Disney and
shouldn't
both,
be
though.
called Kingdom Hearts 3. Because look, I just have the release timeline in front of me.
Oh, you have them up?
Oh my god! Like Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, like they're not that far between. That's fine, right?
Yeah.
Although a game in between, but still, I think you can get away with it being 2. But the amount of games in between, like what the fuck is this? 1.5 remix, 2.5 remix, 2.8 final chapter prologue. What? How could you have a prologue to the final chapter?
Well, isn't this why? No, but like anyone who is like a hardcore Kingdom Hearts fan, isn't this why they were like going mad waiting for the third one? And when they showed that initial trailer, which was revealing, oh, Kingdom Hearts 3 is finally coming, like everyone lost their shit because they're like, yes, it's finally, this is it. No more of these side projects. Kingdom Hearts 3, it's finally coming.
3 is just like to kind of. It's a punctuation nearly at the end of the title, just like finals. Like this is it. This is actually the latest one.
Do you think it is?
I think no. I think they're definitely going to release more games.
Yeah,
100% because of the history in it.
Is this the end though of as Palpatine and the other guy? Like this, I was going to say it, but I didn't want to butcher.
The names are kind of hard to keep up with. I must.
So is this the end of the
Xehanort
Heartless and
Sora.
the Nobodies and everything?
Yeah, I'd imagine they'll probably go in a different direction. Either you'll follow someone else, either way before or like way after, or they'll do kind of like a Star Wars story kind of situation where you're following events that happen somewhere else.
Yeah.
That are going alongside it.
Or because their audience are much older, they're now going to have the liverless. There's all these ones that they can't drink anymore.
They might they might go like do a 5-year hiatus of no Kingdom Hearts news or anything, and then suddenly slap you with this like Tomb Raider, God of War style thing where it's just called Kingdom Hearts. Full stop. That's it, and it just plays totally different, and you're just like, wait, what the hell happened here? It'll be the most mature.
I'd be on board for that.
Hey, it sounds interesting. Yeah.
If it turns out like God of War, then I think that would be very interesting. Make it like really gritty and like really fucking adult.
Goofy as post-traumatic, like. And Donald Duck.
Donald is like an alcoholic.
You guys ever noticed that? Have you seen? Well, you've probably seen that meme. You know, Donald Duck. Like he dresses his top half, but if he has a bath or a shower, he puts a towel around his bottom half.
Yeah.
The fuck is that about?
Yeah. More confusion.
Yeah. It's not the Square Enix that made it confusing.
I've seen another one where it was like. It's like he's not actually a duck, so he takes his. It's like he just wears the beak as lips, so he takes it off. He's got this little tiny mouth. It's fucking disturbing.
Not actually from a.
I think someone just made a kind of a comic sketch of it. Just,
right, okay.
Going a little off topic, have you ever seen the inside of a goose's mouth?
I have to say I
okay, but imagine that without a beak. That's this fucking.
It's got like teeth on its tongue. So it's
got serrated tongue. Yeah,
it's got serrated tongue. It's horrifying.
Oh my god! Don't let them lick you. I mean, I don't know why you would, but just don't. If there's any advice today, don't let a goose lick you.
Just push it open.
Adam, you're going to now buy the Kingdom Hearts games?
Well, I would like to play the first one.
Yeah.
I remember like even the artwork. I don't know why I never actually got into it or never actually picked it up, because the cover was always like.
Cover's cool.
The cover's amazing.
Yeah.
And I always loved the art style. But I don't know why I didn't.
The trailers and the cinematics always look so cool as well. Like I don't know if I've done a good job on like selling the games today, but I think the real charm of the game is like kind of the characters and the music. The music is a big part of it. There's a Japanese pop star does a lot of music. Hikaru Utada, I think her name is. But she's like a massive star in her own right in Japan, and then she kind of like lent her voice and musical talents to the soundtracks for all of the games, as far as I'm aware. And it just kind of raises it up a massive level. Like it's the atmosphere in the series is like, it's kind of like that dreamy kind of coming of age, especially the first one. It's like a coming of age story, and it's actually, if you're going to play anything, like do play the first one. I think it's well worth it. And
I think the third one is always like I've always liked the idea of the third one just because it seems to be visiting a lot more Disney worlds than the other ones did. And I think like that's like is that true? Was there more Disney in that one?
I wouldn't say there's more Disney in the third one, no. Like if anything, there's the same amount, if not a little bit less. But the worlds are kind of bigger. Like I think the third one you get to go to like Big Hero 6, the like San Francisco or whatever that world is they created for that. Oh, yeah. And you just like there's Toy Story, you kind of go to the Toy Story world as well. And they're kind of as the games grew, obviously the consoles grew with them, so there's more growth for open world kind of play style and more detail in kind of the environments in 3. But I would still definitely recommend 1 and 2. I think are way ahead on terms of kind of storyline, obviously, because they're not as convoluted and crazy. But in the first one especially, and the second one, there's a lot of introduction of kind of like Final Fantasy characters that you don't have to, not all of them are kind of main storyline quests. Some of them you kind of have to go off and find them yourselves, or they're kind of just in the world, but they're not really doing much. But you kind of like, you've got all the cool, like you've got Cloud, he's on the Hercules world, he's like in this arena, and I think it's possibly one of the coolest like depictions of Cloud in media. He's like, he looks like such a badass in that game.
Didn't they mixed his design with Vincent Valentine? Because
he does.
There was some reason, I can't remember why, they couldn't have both or something. So they wanted to pay homage to Vincent in Cloud. For whatever reason. I don't know why. But yeah, I've seen it before. He does look pretty cool. Because he's got some kind of red scarf thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
To kind of, it's supposed to be reminiscent of Vincent, and I think he might have the claw hand.
He kind of has a gauntlet kind of thing, yeah, and he's got like a devil wing kind of as well. He's like slightly different than he appears in the Final Fantasy series. Yeah. But he just looks so badass. Orin appears in one of the games as well, and you've got Sid, you got Squall, Aerith. There's a good selection of characters that they included in the games, and do them all pretty faithfully. I think you meet Titus as a child in one of the games, could be 2, and you meet Riku as a child as well on the Destiny Islands when you go back there. So it's fun to see what they did with the characters, because not all of them are exactly the same as they are in the Final Fantasy series. Yeah, and that was another kind of it was like a little kind of spur as to go on. You want to go and find these characters and see what they're like in this game, what kind of iteration they've made in this world.
Yeah, kind of like an Easter egg kind of. Is the first one? Yeah. Is the first one, is that remastered? Because I know they remastered a few before 3 came out. Is the first one remastered?
Yeah, I think you list out in the games we're going through there. It's called 1.5 plus 2.5 Final Remix or something. That's the remaster of the first and the second game with all the DLCs included.
Oh, cool. If you wanted to jump in now, that's the one to pick up then.
Yeah, I think that they do they kind of try to do a better job of including story elements from some of the other games as well. So I think they've included that's what the 0.5 is. They've included some of the little in-between parts so that you can kind of play almost all the way through, rather than back in the day when you had to pick up games on different consoles and they came out at different times. They've kind of tried to make it a little bit more cohesive with those remasters.
So those remasters are nearly designed to let's bring you up to speed just before you jump into Kingdom Hearts 3, which is our Yeah.
Awesome.
Pretty
Really
much.
fucking thinking ahead then, weren't they?
Oh yeah.
Because that was like.
But it also makes them more money because it's another game with the stuff they've already released. But here's another one.
Yeah. They're clever. They know.
Yeah.
Nathan, can I ask of the ones you've played then, which one would be your favorite Kingdom Hearts game?
I think the first one. The first one has to take precedence over the others because I hadn't played anything like it at the time. It kind of hit me at the right age. I was like in the sweet spot between wanting something kind of Disney kiddie, enjoying those movies, but then wanting something a bit more adolescent and adult with the Final Fantasies. And I think that hit right there in the kind of the sweet spot. And I just have great memories of it, just playing that on PlayStation 2 all day. The music, the characters, the gameplay, it's fantastic, in my opinion.
It's hard to beat nostalgia as well, isn't it? Like if there's something that brought you into a world, like it's really hard to.
Definitely plays a huge factor. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so I feel like we've caught up a little bit in Kingdom Hearts, and there's also, I'm sure there's plenty in there that hasn't been spoiled on us either if we decided we wanted to play the games ourselves. Yeah. But just as a fun thing, it came into my head there as we were talking. I think someone else mentioned something that led to this really. But before we finish up today, I thought it'd be fun to, if like the thing that's so appealing about Kingdom Hearts, I think in the first place is the fact that yes, they took the Final Fantasy franchise and the Disney franchise, which seems like an unlikely pairing, and mashed them together to make this game franchise. Okay. If someone came to you and I asked you, you can pair any game universe with any movie universe, because let's face it, Disney was movie first, to make this new game franchise, which universes would you choose to mash together? No matter how unlikely the pair is. So Eric, I gotta come to you first. And you're gonna have to. You're like, I'm not ready for this. You never said we were going to talk about this. Oh, he is ready for this.
I have so many.
You're like, I was always ready for this.
One does not simply ask me to mix a game and movie franchise together.
Okay.
Fuck. I mean, like Alien and Dead Space would be good.
Right. Okay.
Right, but I think that they're probably maybe a bit too obvious or something. But like another one could be like Mass Effect and Star Wars, because I'm trying to think of the cohesiveness of it.
Where they actually could work together.
Yeah, kind of like there could be like, because with Mass Effect, yeah, that's what Andromeda were going off to a different galaxy. Because could you imagine these people going off now to a galaxy? They have their biotics, but now you have these Jedi's with the Force, and and then their different technologies kind of clashing and their ideas clashing. But Jesus, like I think I'll stick with that one.
You say Mass Effect and Star Wars.
Yeah, it might be an interesting one.
Okay. Cool.
It's not the most.
Is it the Star Wars universe or the Star Wars movies in particular? Like, are you talking? Are we meeting Vader and the Empire here?
Yeah, we'll do it around there.
Yeah, movie era Star Wars. Okay, awesome. Adam, you mix any game universe and any movie universe for a game franchise.
Nothing's really coming to mind.
Oh, you'd lose this team. So I'm literally handing you a blank slate. Oh, you can greenlight anything here.
I know. I just don't know what I would want. Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
And The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, that's a good one. You're also thinking like, it could work.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking. I'm just trying to think of what type of fucking game would I'd love to be based on The Lord of the Rings, so I could walk around Minas Tirith. That's all I want.
Yeah. So you're thinking more like if Bethesda were allowed to make the Elder Scrolls Middle Earth, where it's like their gameplay set in Middle Earth.
Yeah.
I'd love that too. I'd love that.
Because I can't really think of it's such an odd idea, this kind of mashup of something.
Yeah, it is. It's really weird.
I just can't think of and generally it's when it is done, it's It's horrendous.
What are you talking about?
Well,
we just spent a whole episode talking about it being amazing.
Yeah, that's like it's such that's an unusual occurrence. That doesn't normally happen.
Except for the 11 times that it happened.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you can always get like characters from films appearing in games.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bond and Hitman would be fucking cool, but I don't know if you like the thing is with Disney, it's not just one film, it's an entire universe.
Yeah.
So you're not really thinking about what movie franchise plus game. You're thinking what movie studio and their entire IP plus game, really.
You could go there.
Well, in that case, it would be like Warner Brothers and fucking anything. Just to pick a game. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They've got Harry Potter. They've got the Lord of the Rings. We've got the Matrix in there somewhere. We've got. Isn't Kong and Godzilla part of their?
That's the whole DC franchise.
All of DC. Yeah. So. I think
Daffy Duck and then Animaniacs in there too.
You do the Looney Tunes.
I get the Animaniacs.
I was actually going to say, I was going to take a page out of Kingdom Hearts book and go, okay, game franchise, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to pick Mass Effect, because with that you make your own character and you build a party of characters from maybe different universes, right? So I'm like, that's a really good gameplay mechanic. Plus you could use the whole thing of like mass relays possibly like opening up alternate universes, and that's what like branches your story. And yes, take fucking the whole Warner Brothers studio.
Tell you what would be good actually is
Batman on your party and fucking Aragorn and like
because it'd be hard to actually pull that together, but you could do although it's been done, but you can kind of do it as a giant collective, which is the Lego games plus the universe of Warner Brothers, because they've done it kind of individually with some
also like let them come together.
Yeah. Like there's a crossover.
Yeah.
You're
so have like Christian Bale Batman and then Will Arnett Batman.
Yeah, like didn't they have
the Batverse?
They've done Harry Potter and they've done the Lord of the Rings, haven't they? The Lego.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
Like you could see those two kind of crossing over, because you could have that fun little interaction between Gandalf and Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would work.
Make it happen.
On a kind of a system level, kind of how does the gameplay function? How do the characters actually interact? How is there that crossover? That one would work.
Oh yeah, Lego you could do easily because it's all tongue in cheek anyway, so it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how ludicrous that plot is. Portals. Yeah, fine. Well, didn't they make Lego Dimensions? Is that not basically where you jump between the different Lego worlds anyway?
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, I think they did like a Doctor
Who
one.
It's done.
In that. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Nathan?
But that was done, I think, more to like it's kind of, but it was more to try and sell toys. That one.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, as opposed to just being its own game franchise.
Yeah.
Nathan. Obviously, Kingdom Hearts is one you love, but if you could get another franchise, which is a game universe and a movie universe or movie studio, if you want to go that far.
See, you didn't say that to me originally. That's this.
Yeah, but if you hadn't thought of it, like Disney, like Cinderella and Snow White do not live in the same world, like.
Very true. Well, I it's a very, very good question, and you've put some very good suggestions out there. I'm not going to think about how the game would actually work. I'm going to say one of my favorite movie trilogies, which is The Matrix. I'm going to put that up. And I'm going to go then with one of my favorite gaming franchises, which would be Pokemon. So I have no idea how that would work.
Yeah. Why not? Why fucking not? Okay, now let's go down this rabbit hole. How would it work?
There is no Pikachu.
The trainers go into the Matrix so that they can train with the Pokemon who now only exist in this version.
It's like
it's like Professor Oak and gives you red pill or blue pill at the start.
Some weird fucking like globalization kind of shit where it's like there is no Pokemon anymore because of fucking like I don't know. and they have to build this virtual world to live out their Pokemon dreams.
Well, you see, the machines grew scared of the power that man wielded with Pokemon. So the machines rose up, wiped out all Pokemon. And now the only way to have Pokemon is by going into this virtual world called the Matrix, where you can then have your Pokemon back.
Which is really weird because you as a player are going into a virtual world, playing as a character going into a virtual world.
Yeah, it keeps going. It keeps going.
That would be pretty messed up as well, because if you defeat the Elite Four at the end as Ash, then you wake up in one of those vats with all the jelly on you. You're like, what was my life?
What? Put me back in. Put me back in.
If you were to do something like that, you'd have to keep the whole crossover thing actually a secret, and let the crossover be the twist. Let it be revealed at the end of it, after catching them all and training them all to the best and winning, realizing that your whole life around you is a lie. And then, of course, you cliffhanger it and you come back to the sequel. Yeah, fucked up.
Take my money.
Actually, just thinking about, because you were saying studio, and because Disney owns so much, and because this video game franchise, while also a book series and now a TV show, deal with traveling to alternate worlds, The Witcher and Disney could be really good.
The Witcher and Disney, yeah, that'd be cool.
Because they already within.
Because The Witcher's so violent, I could just imagine. Hey, King Mickey.
Oh, be terrible.
No, so they already in the Witcher games and stuff, and within the lore, they already mentioned things like Cinderella and everything. And those kind of mythologies actually kind of already exist within it. So then that kind of made sense to me.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Plus, Iron Man could show up, and it could just be like, what the fuck is going on now? Like,
isn't it weird though? There isn't really any more Matrix games.
Oh yeah. Come on, they need to make more. That's
strange. Like that should work. The whole thing is based on a virtual world. Like, how isn't there?
Especially within
games
within VR. How no one decided Matrix VR.
Oh, definitely, yeah. But yeah, there should be a series that we should now be sick of, and it's not. Like, it's bizarre that they didn't milk that. You know, maybe it's thankful, maybe it's a good thing, but I imagine with this new movie when it comes out, there would be a whole slew of, a resurgence in, pop culture Matrix interest, where there'll be comic books about it and maybe anime series about it, and before you know it, maybe someone will make a game.
Yeah.
The thing is to not do a tie-in with the movie.
Oh yeah, there's just
that's
so
all
much.
they did
Yeah,
before
so
with
much
games.
To do with it.
You
There's that and Terminator. I'm so shocked that there isn't like a game series about.
Yeah, man. In fact, yeah. This crossover thing can be Terminator and fucking Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Anyway, that sums up our conversation for today. We'd like to again thank Nathan for coming on, filling us in on Kingdom Hearts and bringing us into the world of Disney and Final Fantasy. And who knows, we might start. But are they paying you, by the way? It's like now we're going to
I'm actually just on the PlayStation Store. There's a Kingdom Hearts VR experience for free.
Fucking do that. That's great. Do that. Do that and fucking.
It'll just be Nomura explaining the timeline to you.
Yeah. It's 3D. It's just him sitting on a fucking on a couch by a roasty fire.
In Japanese as well.
Yeah, so I have to keep looking down at the subtitles.
Yeah.
No, you're given a
dictionary,
a book. Yeah, you have to go and like piece it all together.
It's
actually slow down, Nomura. Slow down.
Yeah.
VR experience ever.
It's like I've platinumed the VR experience.
Anyway, if you've enjoyed us and you're watching on YouTube, be sure to give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and jump down into the comments below to let us know if you've played the Kingdom Hearts games, if you understood the Kingdom Hearts games and you feel like there's something else that we should know about it, or if you're planning on playing Kingdom Hearts as a result of this discussion. And also let us know if you were given the chance to cross over any two universes, movie and game, which ones would you love to see cross over, and what would you like to see done with them? If you're listening to us on audio platforms, same questions, and touch base with us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. at The Brothers Take. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening today. Thanks again, Nathan, for coming on. It's been a pleasure. We'll
Thank you, guys.
talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye now.